can take a picture less. So I am going to take a quick picture of us before we get started, and then we're gonna get into it. So, right? Oh, I'm gonna play more music. We're good. Okay, right? 1, 2, 3. Okay, love you guys. Thanks. Okay, so today we're going to be talking about time management. And this is the one thing that really, from like my personal life, I figured out was like the biggest shift that I'd experienced with coaching as like a general coaching experience, and something that's really, really helped me with my business. So love this. Within time management, we're going to be talking about the problems that we see when we're trying to manage our time, especially as entrepreneurs. And then there are 3 steps that I have that really, really help when you're trying to manage your time. And it's just kind of like a 3-step process that we'll go through. Then we're going to talk about how to apply all of this stuff. And you guys are going to get some application time to make a crazy Google Calendar like I have, which is going to be very helpful when you are trying to set up appointments with your clients and things like that. And then, of course, Q&A. Hey, Carrie, I see you. It's like in this picture. So within there, if you didn't get a chance to do that 24-hour audit, I have found it to be so interesting. And I have found that like within 5-minute increments, that's like what I do, not on coaching. Well, on coaching calls, I'm keeping track of time as well. I use my Apple Watch. You can use whatever source of time management or time telling management. Sometimes I have like a clock right here. And that's also really helpful. But when I am doing that, what I realized 2 weeks ago is that responses to things were really time consuming for me. So after a call, I would quickly check my texts, I would check my emails, I would check Instagram messages, and I would check Facebook messages. And what I found with that is I was like wasting a grotesque amount of time, like 2 hours a day, like not all at once. It was like minutes. It would be like, okay, like something I thought could take 5 minutes would take like 20 minutes. And it would be like, okay, this responds to my accountant would need a response for my payroll person. And then I would need to go and respond to this other person and change this bank account and do this. And there were just like so many, it wasn't the response itself that necessarily took quite some time. It was the other to-dos that happen from the response. So I realized that one of the executives that I coached, she was having the same problem with email. And what I realized is that something I've been doing, and this is more so for later, but like I've been starting a separate Google document for when I'm going to intentionally go through texts, emails, Facebook messages. And if there's anything that comes up, I set a time aside at the end of the day, not the beginning, but at the end of the day, so that I can have a list of to-dos, and then I put those to-dos on my calendar in another separate intentional time. And that's how I'm starting to do it. But another thing that I did is like, whenever I see a notification, like my brain thinks it's really important. Like it's like, oh, there's a notification, I'm missing something. So I actually turned off notifications for my text messages last week. And I have never felt so in control of the time I spend on my phone. Like it kind of just felt like almost habitual, to the point it was almost like not on what's the word? Like it was a habit, to the point, not an addiction, but like kind of in that same like vein of just like, oh my God, like I just have to grab my phone. I have to check. And I felt so free. It's been a process, but I think it's just going to continue. Um, the other reason why I think this is so important is I know that your short-term business plans, but I'm not sure what all of your long-term business plans entail. And for me, I hope to grow this business I want to scale this business. I want to help as many people as possible. Coaching changed my life. You guys are changing so many lives. I really would like to help you, more coaches. And I realized when I was talking with a friend 2 weeks ago that my next steps are going to be hiring. So I'm actually going to be like hiring an executive assistant. I'm going to be hiring a virtual assistant, potentially also within that executive assistant kind of realm, maybe a social media person. Like, so there's some big things that are happening in Megan Wynn Coaching 6-figure systems world. And this was the first thing that she said to us to do. So I'm actually hiring a coach. She's amazing. Not Stacey Bayman, Stacey Tushel, and she's teaching how to go from a solopreneur to a CEO of like a business where you're running lots of people. And we were on a training last week, and she was like, that's the first thing that she has people do is this 24-hour audit. And I was like, okay. So I don't know where you guys are thinking your business is going to go, whether hiring people could be in your future, but this is the number one thing she says. And she has $2 million businesses. So $4 million businesses combined. And so what we're going to be talking about is like, there's going to be direct and indirect money, like generating activities for your future. And that's kind of where I want you to be thinking, like everything that I'm doing in my business, whether it's indirect, like self-coaching, or it's direct, like I'm physically talking to a human, those are money generating activities. And we're going to start to log them and track them so that your business not only has a formula that works, but you're also going to have something that's very predictable for the future. That was a lot of a tangent, but very important stuff coming for you guys. So taking that time to do the audit is really helpful. Now, what I've found is that a lot of us we make our own deadlines, you know? So it's like, no one's telling you this is due. You have to do a webinar at this time. You get to choose. So a lot of times we will set deadlines for ourselves and then kind of like wait for our own deadline. And that's a really difficult piece of time management where it takes a little bit more discipline than the average like worker, because no one's telling you what to do in your business. You can do whatever you want, but you set deadlines. And then a lot of times, because of ways that we've maybe used deadlines in the past, maybe procrastination has been a way that we've like studied for things, even in school, in our like corporate world and things like that. So that can be a big deal. Another thing is that like within the solopreneur space, we could have like huge projects to work on. Like it could be like create a launch plan. I was like, I don't even know what that is. It's like, it's very vague. And I also like am like working through like how to launch a group. And I figured that out this weekend. But like when you have something that's like a very big, vague project that we are solving problems that no one has solved for really yet. It's like we're kind of like on the cutting edge of that kind of a thing. Having a big, huge project on your calendar can be a big problem. When I see some other people scheduling, they could have lists. And again, I've got a woman, has a 300K business, and she's functioned with to-do lists up until this point for the past like 8 years. And it's like, that is not a great use of her time, because then she also has to reprioritize daily and be like, okay, wait, what am I going to be doing today? I need to make sure that I hit this. Oh, but I also have this, and it can not be as effective as you want. And then also something that I'm still guilty of a lot of the time is scheduling an entire day to do a project. Be like, okay, I'm going to do, and we'll see if this works. If I've learned from my lessons, but this weekend I'm doing all my content for February and March. And we'll see if it works. And we're just going to see if it works. Usually it doesn't, but I've learned a lot, and I'm a lot faster at content batching than I used to. So we'll see, but I think it'll be good. Now, why you do this is it feels like you're being very organized and productive writing big to-do lists. Like that's how she feels like she's using her best time a lot of and I'm not judging anybody if this is what you do. I'm just trying to help you understand why there might be a better way, you know? Also, our brains are hardwired for negativity. So we've got a big task in front of us, like with that motivational triad, and it's like, this could be painful, this is not fun, and it's going to take a lot of my energy. We don't want to do that. We will productively procrastinate elsewhere. Also, especially like, it's going to take time to do a project. So you want to include like a huge chunk of time, especially because again, for a lot of us, we don't know how much time something's going to take, especially because a lot of times you might be doing something for the first time. So it's like, I don't know how long it's going to take me to write a post. So I'm going to include 3 hours to write this, or not 3 hours, but like to write all my posts for the week. I'm going to include 3 hours, and like, we don't know exactly how long it's going to take, especially if it's the first time that you're doing something. And then if we put things on our to-do list or on our calendar, it's like, at least we're going to get it done, maybe eventually. But that's not the best way to go about things, especially as you guys are building these huge business. Like you guys all have the potential to make these businesses as big or as like as you want them to be. And they are all big in their own right now, but like we want to get really good at managing your time, being insanely efficient, insanely productive, because you guys have important shit to do in the world. That's what we're going to be focusing on. So what we need to do is we need to be evaluating very frequently. I mentioned in a post the other day, one of my clients has a $10 million business, and evaluation is how he got there in 2 years. He has hired like 40 people, and like literally it's just exploded. And within that, every day they're evaluating, every hour they're like checking in. Like I will talk with him about something that's like would take, I think, another business 4 months to create, and they do it in a weekend. Like that's what I'm talking about. The faster you can evaluate, not take it personally, be like, okay, I'm learning, moving on, and just like getting better and better every time, the faster your business will grow to be whatever you want it to be. The other thing is we need to the best of your ability, simplify projects into smaller tasks. Again, like I said, we don't know even the projects that you might have. You don't know what even what it could possibly be. So this is just to the best of your ability until it can become a protocol and something that is a part of your formula. Then the other thing, we're going to start calendaring. I want your calendar will become your best friend. It's going to be great. You're going to use it all the time. And instead of having a daily plan, we're going to make weekly plans, monthly plans, annual plans. But today we're going to be focusing just on your weeks, getting super organized every week. And then we're going to have very clear outcomes. You're going to have a very defined, like post written for week will be an outcome. It's going to be something that's very clear. You know what result you'll create at the end of the time. Instead of write posts, it's like write posts for week 2. It's going to be very clear it's like write 3 posts for week 2. Like, it's like the more specific you can get, especially in this vague kind of solopreneur space, the better you will get at managing your time. So here's the process. Monday, hour 1, you're going to take all the things that you need to do for the week and put it on a calendar. Then there's also result breakdown. That's where we're going to take the big projects and break them down into manageable chunks. And then the Friday hour done is the evaluation, which, by the way, if you've been doing your weekly forms, guess who's been doing Friday hour done since the very beginning? You guys, because that is what Friday hour done is. It's very easy. So there are micro plans with Monday hour 1 that are going to be like little things like waking up, calendaring, habit stacking. Those are things that we're going to be focusing on today. And then in the annual plan, I actually did a webinar on it 2 weeks ago. God, that feels like 10 years ago. We are going to be doing the annual plan, which is where you're going to see in the bigger scheme of things. Like I think, Amber, I was talking with you, I think, about like vacations and how I'm planning vacations throughout the year. And like, that's also important. And as an entrepreneur, like, yes, you do want to prioritize your business, but we also need to make sure that you're having a life outside of your work. And so that is what we're going to be doing week 15 or system 15. Now the weeks are off. And I'm changing that for the next program. I'm like, we're doing systems, not weeks, because the weeks have gotten off a little, which is totally fine. Okay. So within your business, these are the categories that I want you to be focusing on with your business every week. Okay. There's going to be, and when I talked before about indirect versus direct money-making activities, we want to include time for both. So direct money-making activities or indirect would be thought work. And I like to do it as much as I can on the way back from yoga. Like that's my thing. And when I make time for that, I know that my brain is clean and I'm ready to go and show up and serve. For relationships, outreach, that is a direct money-making activity. When you do outreach, you will make money. Like that is something that like you can track it. And one of the things that Stacey is having us do is she's like, until you can directly see the amount of money you're making from like every post that you do, she's like, we have a different link in our Instagram header for people who are signing up from Instagram versus Facebook versus our Facebook ads versus our Google ads versus, like, she was like, everything has a different, or website ads or a website pop-up. She's like, they have a different link for everything. So they can directly see, if I hire a social media manager, I need to be getting X amount of consults. They need to be making at least what I'm paying them. Like, so it's like, I want you guys to be thinking about your businesses in this way. Like, I am going to see a direct correlation from the amount of people I reach out to the amount of client conversion I have. Like, it's going to be a formula, no drama. It's just going to be like, I talked with this many people and this worked. Indirect is coaching. Like, and yes, it is a direct way, like people are directly paying you, but like they've already paid you a lot of times and they're in your program. So it's not like they're going to like not be a direct source of income, but you're over delivering as a coach when you are really creating insane results for your clients. They can refer you to people, they can create awesome testimonials, and they can also become like one of my clients, he like messaged his sister and things like that, and he was like, you need to do this. And like, that's when I looked at my business, and I'll show you guys that in a second. This has been, these two have been like the biggest money making things for me. Miscellaneous, responding to emails. And this, it says AM, and I'm changing that to nighttime, putting that at night. That is something that is, because your brain gets decision fatigue throughout the day. So I'm putting in the biggest things that I have to do, like making presentations in the morning, because my brain is fresher. You're going to start to learn your learning style. Like maybe you're a night person, so that's a great place for you to put your energy. But you want to be making the most of your like best brain energy time. You do not want to be doing something like responding to emails or responding to text messages or responding to Instagram messages. I actually do outreach and I message new people before I respond to like the other messages in my inbox, because I see how important that is. So for you guys, that's Monday hour 1. And you literally just take this and you're going to be putting it on your calendar. Now, the biggest thing is the results. How are you going about doing these results for your people? This is where you might not, I'm giving you as many of the big result formula pieces that I can. So you already have that. But when I was first starting out, I did not have outlines. I didn't know how long it would take for me to make slides, didn't know how long it would take for me to do marketing, no clue. So what I did, even though I had some of the pieces, like I knew kind of how to write an outline because I was a teacher, but what you can do is you can time yourself on your stopwatch. And that's what I've been doing recently. Like I was checking in and seeing how long it would take for me to write a post or respond to people. And I realized that responding to 3 people who I currently had a conversation with took about 5 minutes. And so like now I'm like getting insanely tuned in to my time. And I'm like, when like I've got 17 one-on-one clients and I've got you guys. So it's like my calendar is pretty jam-packed. So every minute counts. Like every single minute needs to be doing something that is revenue generating, whether that's self-coaching or that it's something indirect, getting coached myself, that's something indirect, or if it's doing something that's like I'm reaching out to actual humans. So within this, I didn't know how long it was going to take for me. So I overestimate when I'm time blocking in my calendar. I was like, I'm going to give myself more time than I think is needed for the first time you do something. And then like what you can do is you can put next to your protocols how much time it actually took, like predicted and actual. And then it's like, have a script, potential questions for the webinar. Within slides, I was like, I'm just going to choose a template and add interactive questions and then marketing. So that's what I guessed it would take. And this is my calendar from February because I blocked out people's names. But this is what your calendar will look like. Now, doesn't have to look like mine. But for me, I found that this is the best way for me to be really productive with my time. So thought work and meditation, Blue is for me, like self stuff. Eat lunch. If I didn't have eat lunch on there, pick up medication. If I didn't have that on there, it was not going to, like, I would not eat lunch a lot of the time. And as you can see, I didn't put it on for, I think this was Saturday, and I forgot to eat lunch. Or it's like, no, I ate lunch with a person that week. So personal for me is blue. And that's what I put on my calendar first. Then I go in and I put in relationships. So that's where I was like, my little brother lives in Boston. We talk once a week. So I want to make sure it was important. At the time, I was living in Winston, and I've since moved, but my mom lived in Raleigh. And so I wanted to make sure I talked with her. That was very important to me. I also wanted to hang with some of my best friends in the local area. So I was like, I'm putting that on my calendar first. And it's like the salmony color. Lunch with a girl, Winston people, Valentine's Day gala. These are like the things that I did back in February. Now, within that, I also wanted to make sure. So that's the second thing when you're doing Monday hour one versus self, then relationships. Then I would put all my meetings. Now, the beauty of this is you guys have coaching packages that last more than a week. So these are reoccurring. And I make the first time you do Monday hour one, it's going to be the hardest, not the hardest, the most tedious, because none of this probably exists. And maybe it does. Maybe you're like on it. I know, Demetria, I know that you are a scheduling person too. So it's like you might already have your schedule made, which would be awesome. But for those of you that have never done it before, it might take you a whole hour to get all of this on your calendar. And that's okay. All right. Like that's not a problem. It gets easier as you go. So then I did thought work. I had all my coaching clients at the time were here. I also included consult calls. Now with like things like Acuity and Calendly, which I'm pretty sure most of you guys are using, consult calls and coaching calls go on your calendar like for you. That's why having a Google Calendar integrated with your calendaring system is so great. Like I didn't have to ask someone, okay, when are you available for a consult? And like click on my calendar. I just looked on my calendar. I was like, oh, I've got 2 consults this week. Great. So that was awesome. I also planned a presentation, and I was planning like 2 presentations at the time. This was one that I was doing for this was a presentation that I was doing for NC State. I did another presentation for time management for NC State. So I did like 2 presentations that week because I thought I was going to be working with college students. And I also put in prep for consults. So like that might be something you need to add. And that's why I made it yellow. For this, I was about to do, I was doing 200K, my first round of 200K at the time. So I included my 200K calls, and then I included my, the workbook that I was filling out at the time. I also put my name on the Life Coach School database this week. It's a busy week for me. I unpacked and packed for a trip. So all those things are things that you want to be putting on your calendar. And then last but not least, having a way to evaluate. What do you do when you're done with your week? And you start with 5 things accomplished, what worked, what didn't work yet, and what can you do differently? And that is kind of how I do my weeks. Now, for you guys, I gave you an even more in-depth version of the end of the week. Whatchamacallit? The end of the week, Friday hour done. This is what I do every week. And I would put this in a separate folder. For me, my folder is here. And I'm not saying that like, I would never give you guys stuff that I don't do. I do this every single week. And actually my coach made me send it to her every week until it became a habit. And then I was like, great. So every week I do this. And I have my goal for this year is 200K. My monthly goal, that should be 15. My monthly total so far is this. And so I have like offers made. And last week was a shit week for me networking, y'all. I had 0 people I reached out to. So that's okay. You're going to have weeks like this too. You need to be honest with yourself and give yourself legit like evaluations. I reached out to 20 new people. I did consults or 0. Networking, I would consider that's your warm leads. Outreach is cold leads. 0 clients, money created this week. And I was like, 5 wins. Like, I created protocols, like a lot of protocols this week. I actually might be asking my boyfriend to help me with some things like in the back end of my business in the meantime till I can afford hiring somebody. I self-sabotaged a little. I told my accountant, I was like, I might make 300K this year. And she was like, okay, you pay $13,000 in taxes this month. And I said, okay. And then I did that. And I was like, I was like, Diane, I need to change that. It was like, I don't want to like, I was like, I'm only making like, I'm not making that amount of money and we need to move that. So self-sabotage, but I fixed it. And I'm tracking my motherfucking finances daily. Like these, like it does not need to be something that's pretty. It doesn't need to be something that everyone's going to see. But the reason it's important that you guys start doing this now is next soon, you're going to have something that looks like this. And it's going to be beautiful. And it's going to be tracking everything that you do. The week before, I reached out to 90 people because of the webinar. So that was pretty good. But I have this for everything. And I made it even better for you guys. Like, as you can see, this is how it went. 2020, each year it keeps getting better. And then that was last year and this is this year. But I know my numbers every single week. I knew exactly where I was coming in this year. And that should be 120. I think I actually didn't add 1 month, but yeah. So I want you guys to start doing this too, because it makes your business feel very repeatable and easy. So, and so I do this every week. This is my evals for 2022. You can see, like, I literally did this every week. And you will too. I did it for 2021 too. So I've been doing this for 2 years. Do not think that like this is where your end will be. Don't judge your end at my beginning, but the annual goal, monthly total, how much you've made, and then we're going to start tracking that. The other thing that's in there, when I first started, I did this once. I did Monday hour 1 and actually wrote down how I was spending my week. And I would recommend you doing something like today's Tuesday, right? So Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, if you want, actually just like having it in one place. And then the rest of it pretty much becomes, once you put it on your calendar one time, you can pretty much move stuff around. So like you can see, like this is my calendar for this week. The names of my one-on-one clients are anonymous. So that's why I blocked them out. So it's like, you could move stuff around pretty easily. So just knowing that like, okay, I do it once and then I'm pretty much done. And so I want you to do 10 minutes on your eval. I would love for you to do 10 minutes on your Monday hour 1, 20 minutes to fill out your Google Calendar. And we're going to make it 10 minutes to fill out your Google Calendar for the week. And this might take a little bit of time again for the first time you ever do this. But once you do that, and you don't need to submit it, just like know that you have it and fill out your weekly form if you have time. But that is it. That was a